I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. The Last Vinci are a Cork-based alternative rock/stoner trio led by Alex Vinci, who have just released their amazing third album, 15 Minutes at a Time, on Narrow Door Records. This album is slightly different to their previous work, as it has more of a personal theme for Alex. After my first listen, I thought the album was a beautiful, dark masterpiece, and I had to talk about it further. So I am talking to Alex. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm very, very happy to be here.
I've heard a lot about you in the past from the Bi-Curious boys, who you work with a lot over the last few years, while I've been watching them grow as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've been one of the main reasons why I'm doing this job. So literally, Bi-Curious have been so important for me. And I'm their manager. So literally, I work with them since, 2017. I met them around the time that we started to work together literally the year after. It's been a kind of crazy journey, up to now. So I'm very happy about how the album is being received so far. I love to conceive a lot what we do like part of a bigger family. Like, it's not only about me, but it's about a group of people that are working around Narrow Door Records, working around, all the projects that are involved into the ecosystem of Narrow Door. So it's been an interesting journey so far. But yeah, Bi-Curious are definitely, my brothers. I love them like family. So they're unbelievable band and unbelievable friends. So very, very proud to be part of their team.
We'll talk about the album in a moment, but I just wanted to talk about your label first, Narrow Door Records, on which your latest album is released. Why did you feel it necessary to take on the extra pressure of running a label and a studio?
It's not question like, all the artists, we're living in a moment where it's really hard also for labels, to run albums and doing things. Like, the reason is more about the identity, about how you want to do things. I have to say, Narrow Door Records, actually was born mainly to release the first album of Bi-Curious, okay? So the Narrow Door Records logo was actually already alive because of the first releases of the Last Vinci. And the Narrow Door is it's kind of an analogy about the music business, okay? So it's so complicated to live and, in general, survive in this kind of, really, really hard environment like the music business. And at the same time, one thing that I experienced in my life, being in the big scheme of labels, because with one of my previous bands, I was with Warner Bros. Records in Italy, and I lived one of the worst experience that a musician can live in the music business. So I didn't want to follow that path, okay? So I really wanted to bring my imprinting in the way how I was dealing with management, dealing with other artists. And also, I have to thank Bi-Curious again about that, because at the beginning when I approached them, because of this kind of tough experience that I had in the past, my first goal was to literally to produce their new music, because they were just coming out from this fundraiser that they did for one of their EP that they did, that they actually was the EP actually that contains Leap and all this kind of, big tunes that they got, millions of streams on Spotify. And when I discovered these kids, I said, Jesus Christ, they are unbelievable. I want to help them to try to bring their music around and to don't pay for, the costs of a studio. And I didn't want to, I didn't have any clue about, any willing to start to be a manager. My experience with management has been awful. And in the past, and I say, I will never be a manager in my life. So, and the fun part is that I became their manager because for different reasons that I'm not here to say, is I kind of needed to step in, helping them to manage a complicated situation where they were going through. And I noticed that the way how I was handling the thing was more beneficial for the person and the artist, And I'm not talking about on a business level because they are way more better manager than me in terms, I do believe that in the music business, we have two different type of managers. Are the manager that are willing to kind of squeeze an artist and get as much as they can, and they drop them and then do their career like an artist is just a customer for them. And then there are managers that are able to kind of, interact with the artist, but became part of their team at the level that they are part of the band and they care about what they want to do, and they help them to develop their project without destroying their life, without having the chance to live a life without considering music just a burden. Because at one point, if it's not lived in that way, music is really, the music business in particular is a burden. You forget the reason why you're doing it. So Narrow Doors started in that way, with the kind of weird idea about the fact that you need to go through something very narrow, to try to make the things work. But then, beyond the door, there's something that is really special, something that lasts for a long time. So I never been really properly understood by the labels, and in particular in the kind of English speaking market, because I'm still a blood Italian man, and when I'm singing, you can clearly hear that I'm not coming from from Dublin or from London. But at the same time, I have to thank Tom Peters. The producer of My Curious and our producer, and he helped me to literally figure it out. The fact that I wasn't, properly singing I was keeping my accent. It was a beneficial element in a way, because it was an element of particularity. Like, so, probably, for the industry, I never been kind of too much, sellable for the way, even if I don't believe that. So at one point, if nobody's waking up, I'm going to do it myself. We got a couple of offers for the album, but none of them were better than the one that I could offer myself. At the least I could keep everything in house and keep the same style, keep the same attitude, working with the people that I want to work. And so I'm honestly really, really happy about that. Man, I'm losing my mind about working hard for all the pieces of between distribution, between the press, and we thank God we work with different teams of people that are working with us, but the coordination is mental. In a way, I can say that I'm proud that I kept this album within our other records, and in particular because of the meaning of it. What has actually happened to me years ago that changed completely my life was something too delicate to, give it away like a classic product. And I really hope that this music is going to go far away, to help other people. But in general, yes, it's a crazy journey, but I'm proud about what I'm building up with our other records.
If anybody wants to delve into your past, there's a podcast you were on a while ago about your experience of being a signed artist for a while, isn't there?
I don't know with who it was. But yes, he's there's something around,
There's clips of it on your YouTube channel which people can find if they're interested. It was very interesting. I had a listen earlier today.
In the studio, in the recording room of the studio, I have literally the copy of the statement from the label when I was with Warner Bros. Music. It was numbered like 0.18 cent. Like, was one of my shares, of my music. It was crazy, man. Like, being in a label can be a hit or a miss, of course. It's just more being part of an ecosystem can give you more credibility and stuff like this, But I don't know why, but I decided that if nobody was understanding what was going on, I was creating that ecosystem. I was creating that kind of thing, And I'm at the moment I have having new bands joining the label and joining what I'm doing, but it's not only about the general idea of being successful in the music. It's just about the fact of keep doing what we are doing, I always say to all the people I work with, the goal is longevity. It's not the instant success, Then if the success arrives, happy days. But that environment, like every business is you can get a lot of storms if the foundation are not solid enough. You're falling down very easily.
Well, let's move on to the album. I think this is a beautiful record, the first to actually bring me to tears in a while. You had a good reason to bring the emotion to the table for this album. So for those listening to this that may not know, can you sort of put in a nutshell the background of what this album is?
3 years ago, 10 days before my biggest European tour, I got diagnosed with a chronic disease, and that completely reshaped my way of seeing life. And literally, the music that I've written in this album helped me to go through the full process of discovering, the pre-diagnosis, the discovery of the sickness, and also the overcome of the idea that my life wasn't over. I always been a person, because I'm doing the job that I'm doing, always I always made incredible big long-term plans. I mean, if you were meeting me something like 3-4 years ago, one of the main things that I was asking to a person that was working with me was like, what is your business? I mean, what is your, 3-5 years plan? This kind of bullshit. And literally, I found myself unable literally to consider myself to even see where I was going, because everything changed in that moment. I really thought that that European tour really was my last tour. I wasn't really being able to go back on that and on doing the music, and I thought I was actually going to be depressed for the rest of my life. Instead, I have to thank the incredible woman that is next to me, that is my wife Luisa, who actually told me, "Look, we're gonna take this 15 minutes at a time." And if I'm thinking that now, I have to manage my emotions, because it's a really hard thing. But I felt like in that moment, I completely understood that my life was changing forever. But at the beginning, I would think it was changing forever for the worse. But instead, it's actually, I'm very glad, and it's weird to say this, and please don't misunderstand me when I'm saying this. I'm almost kind of blessing that I got sick, because in a way it got me at the point to understand the idea of being temporary, and being, the fact that we really sometimes we live in this world thinking that we're gonna live forever, but then it's not true. That's actually, we all aware that you can be the most healthiest person in the world, but everybody can finish now. And a lot of the times, we don't live what we have today, and it's so hard. At least for me, it was one of my biggest struggles. Like in the first songs of the album, like "Living Certified Disaster" and "Begging for Some Help," there's the tension that I had before getting sick. There was kind of not being able to live and be grateful for what I had. Always looking with this kind of tension of the future, like there's some experts that are saying that depression is the regret of the past and anxiety is the fear for the future. And I was living in that kind of weird momentum. And then when the sickness actually got to me, I didn't have so much choice. Or I was going into a black hole of depression, or I was changing the way how I was living my life. And it's something that really changed the way how I see life now. And then, of course, in the album, there's 15 minutes at a time that is really expressing, and also melodically, you probably hear the song that is changing, dynamically. It's just giving the impression about the roller coaster of emotion I was living at the time. It was something crazy. And then, after that, there's this black wall that is just literally representing what I was dreaming during the night. I was dreaming to see a black wall that I couldn't literally see beyond that. And of course, there's the realization up to go to, temporary, that is at the song that is kind of taking the piece about the fact that we're temporary. The sentence, sometimes I think that we're going to live forever. And sometimes I think a chicken wrap is better than a burger.
Yeah, I picked up on that one.
I know it's a weird sentence, but even like when I was discussing with Joe Pamphlet and Katie, that is actually my vocal coach, we were reviewing the lyrics, and also when I was reviewing that with Tom Peters during the recording, it was kind of a conversation about that sense. I wanted just to kind of bring to the same level, that sometimes we're taking so seriously something that it's not. The idea of like that myself shouting, "We are gonna die!" Like it's something that in that song that is really represents the element of contradiction that a human being lives. About the fact that is bringing, too much care about something that doesn't have any value, but just treating that like it's the most important thing in life, and then forgetting what is actually counts. And then, going up to the end of the album, when there's, Unbalanced and Addressed, that is actually the song that is resolving kind of this kind of concept album that I written with my fellas, Brasco and Dylan. Literally, my life changed. Like in that song, I realized that I needed to look in a different direction to refine myself, to find myself again, So that was very important.
When you were writing this, did you find it emotional to write, or maybe was it more of a sort of healing yourself kind of process?
I would say that depends on the song. For sure, from 50 minutes at a time onwards, it was a healing process. I needed to express certain things because I needed to go through what I was going through. And the creative aspect was the only outlet I had to try to express what I was living. Okay. The first three songs instead was myself putting down a frustration, the inability to express what I was feeling and putting down. Yeah, it was literally come back home and leave you certified disaster and beg you for some help. Are definitely the representation of that kind of level of tension, something that is about to explode. Okay. I mean, if I'm looking to to the songs now, I'm thinking during that time that I wrote that songs, it's like that I was getting prepared for something that I don't know. It probably was the reaction of my body that it was probably already telling me that I was losing the fuel to go where I was going before. There's a place like in 50 minutes at the time I start the song saying there's a place in my heart I didn't know where I couldn't find hope. That was I was feeling, that in that moment I felt that I didn't have any hope. People that actually knows me, they know that I always been a kind of a very hopeful person. Like, and I find myself for the first time in my life, I'm able to see that hope. But at the same time, again, if it wasn't for the love of the people around me and the music, to be fair, because music is such a gift, man. I really hate when we get to the point that we consider, music just a good or a product, because it's such a stupid things to say. Artists need to create because it's the only way they have to express what they're going through. I completely fully understand sometimes, like, the group of the 27, all the people that literally they took their own life, when they got a lot successful and they were going through certain specific thing of their life, because you're taking away the soul of the reason why you're doing it. And if people was in trouble, I'm very lucky that I had a very nice life and I'm surrounded by love, because otherwise I would be lost, man.
Did your situation, your health situation, change the process of how you made this album?
Absolutely, 100%, man. It changed completely the way I was approaching the music. It's happened to me in the past, but not for an album, to write because I felt that I didn't have any other way to express what I was living. And I think that the album is so good because it's coming from a very genuine point of view. Like it was literally, I was bringing that out. And at the level that I usually write, with Brasco, my drummer, that is my best friend since I was 3 years old. And literally, I couldn't have anyone else better than him to welcome this process, because I felt so much in need to bring out also different elements, of what I was living into the album. And that probably, if I was dealing with another person, that it probably, sometimes the ego in the bands can literally make crazy things. But he let me, write this album because he understood that it was such an important thing for me to express what I was living. And that's it. And this is actually the first bunch of songs of way more songs were written during this time. That's the kind of thing, it was like a constant flow that I have to be fully honest. I mean, having a studio, that's such a great benefit, and to have access to it 24/7. I have to force myself to stay away from it. Kind of is I would always spend my life here. I spend most of my life inside this place, and definitely, if it wasn't for what I went through, it was a completely different album.
Well, the album is a real journey of emotions, from the slow acoustic moments to heavy driving, almost angry riffs, and everything in between. Lyrically, was it an easy album to write? Because the songs flow really nicely. It feels like they just flowed out of you.
All the songs, apart from one that is the Hollow Show, where literally I have to change it something like I don't know how many times, because what the thing that I wanted to express, it wasn't going right with the vocal metric that I was writing, so I had to reshape the way I was doing the thing. But weirdly, kind of, the Hollow Show is it was part of the set list that it was supposed to be in the previous album, in the Revolution. So like it was coming artistically from a different moment. That was probably the reason why it didn't flow automatically like the rest of the songs. The rest of the songs were literally, man, like waking up in the night and write it down, like for Living Certified Disaster, at the point that I was in the bed writing down the lyric, and the matter, and my wife looking at me because we were awake because one of our kids was crying, and literally she looked at me to say, "What the hell are you doing, man? It's 3 a.m." I mean, it's kind of. And I said, "No, I have to. I have it. I mean, I have something that I have to write down." And most of it went in really, really straightforward, and it was really good. Also, the work on the lyrics compared to the previous album, there was so much more work in the previous album compared to this one. Then I had, because I was in a very fragile moment, I decided to involve Katie Hughes, that is my vocal coach, and also one of my best friend, and she really helped me to shape the album on the go. It was really good, and having someone next to me like her, that I didn't want to feel that loneliness that sometimes when I'm writing, I had, and I say, look, I want to do it with someone. I want to have someone that is helping me on that. Okay. So it was impressively good for that. It was the first time that I found myself owning the songs at the level that the songs were something so important to me to live. I mean, it took me really a year, more or less, to try to sing 50 minutes at a time without crying. I'm still in the position to sometimes I don't have to think too much about what I'm singing. If I think about that, it's the tears come down. So it's really intense.
I mean, it's beautiful that you still have that emotion from the song, because obviously the more times you play it in the studio, and obviously when you go out on the road, you can become quite disassociated from your own work because you just go through the motions. But I think this album, regardless how many years you're playing it for, you're always going to feel these songs.
I believe that, songs are pictures of a period of time that you lived and have the ability to keep that emotion in the time. I will never forget that. Probably the best song of my entire career that I've written so far, because it really brings me to a place where I was completely lost, and it reminds me, I'm pretty sure it's going to help me to remember how to live even in the future.
So when I first listened to the album, I made it all the way through to the last song, Moon Lullaby, before cracking, and that was the song that set me off. It's a beautiful duet with a female voice. Is that your daughter or wife or somebody else?
It's my daughter, Anna. Okay, that song wasn't supposed to be in the album. And when I showed it to Tom Peters, and he told me, no, this song has to close the album. Because literally, Tom told me something that, because when we recorded this album, Tom spent 3 weeks here with us in my place and in the studio, and I didn't want to rush it. Okay, I want to live the experience as much as possible, and the overall recording of the album lasted for 5 weeks, because I decided to take over. I mean, the backing vocals in a second moment, but literally when we were discussing about the song, because there was another song in the track list that didn't got into the album, but we recorded it. Literally, Moon Lullaby for me was supposed to be one of them, not getting into the album. And Tom, literally living in my house with my family, living the vibe of the Narrow Door thing, and he literally told me, no, you have to put that song at the end, because it represents where are the foundation of you. And that is my family, literally. Because in the song, there's also my sister on violin, my sister Elena, that she's a professional violinist, that for different reasons in her life. I mean, quitted with music for a long time, and the music was the only way we had to communicate to each other. And again, for different reasons, she was in trouble to come over here to record the album and to record the part. And so I asked to Gavin from the Cliffords, these are incredible band here in Cork, to come over and record the trumpet. Then, thank God, my sister made it. He came over here to record, the violins as well. So it's the reason why we're trumpet and violin. And of course, my daughter, I wrote that song with my daughter Maria, because I don't know, maybe people don't know me really well, but I have 6 kids myself. And we were during COVID, and my daughter Maria literally started to write down this song, literally, and I took the guitar. We started to jam the thing together, and we built up that song, and then it's actually happened that my daughter Anna, that when we were writing that song, she was something like 7 or 6 or something like that. She was already singing incredibly well. And my daughter Maria didn't want to sing it with me. And Anna said, look, Daddy, I'm going to sing it with you. And we had the first pre-production of the song when she was 8. And she nailed it. Because she's born for that. It's crazy. And it was a very emotional moment for me. And it is still an incredible emotional moment for me to sing along with her. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it live. I mean, I tried to convince her to play with me for the album launch, but I don't know if she's gonna do it or not. But at the same time, yeah, man, that song made cry so many metalheads, dude. You have no idea. When I saw like Aaron, that is actually my guitar tech, I showed that one is the last one of the album, and he's a guy that is big into metal music and heavy stuff, and I didn't care too much about seeing his reaction, but I just hear himself kind of sobbing, and I say, "Oh my God, what's going on?" That song is a cherry on top of an album that was already special. So I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy that Tom convinced me to do it.
Just briefly, let's talk about the album cover as well. It's a bright, upbeat garden picture. What's the story behind that? Because it's such a juxtaposition to the mood of the music.
I know, man. I know. The album is pretty dark. It's kind of it's an intense, it's a very emotional one, and the artwork seems like a funny thing. But the kind of thing that the album artwork actually, we were stuck with different ideas. Okay, we knew that we wanted to call it 50 minutes at a time, but I have to be fully honest. I'm one of the worst designer ever in the world. So I tried in the past to do things on my own, and I've been literally whiplashed by many people and say, "Why are you doing that on your own? Also, someone that is able to do it." So I completely gave up about it from the beginning, and I literally asked to my former manager Jack, that is a designer as well, to work on something. And also we had, an incredible artist from Italy called Nicola Martini, that really it's with us since our EP of 2019 about design and stuff like this. And I say, look, I have this idea. I gave the kind of the concept of the album to different people, and I tried to see what these people were coming out with. Okay, the crazy part was that Nicola went out with this crazy idea about representing the moment before the tragedy, because in the artwork you see Brasco that is throwing me a bucket of water in the face, and I'm still there laughing like nothing actually happened. He wanted to represent that exact moment. I like that idea so much, man, because I think that it represents exactly how I was feeling, and also, of course, the location of the video, it's in front of our studio, so it's part of our environment, our life, and that the combination of elements, and then the color palette, using this kind of style that is called toilet paper from like the 60s, kind of more like the kind of very very strong kind of colors, was giving the right contrast, between the meaning of the album and the brightness of a shocking moment.
I think it's very clever the way you've used little fragments of the album cover for the singles as well.
Yeah, it needed to be. The horses for begging for some help really is. It's actually, I have it outside here. It's from my kids, and Brasco really loved that, so I had to put it in. He loved that one. And also, the little duck as well is another thing that I had it in my garden, and it was part of that artwork. And on the day, Nicola made all the pictures for it, and we have different elements that were matching the color palette of the album. So we needed to try to align the thing together, and yeah, very very proud of it.
Let's move on to your social media and videos and stuff. Firstly, let's talk about that dance lesson for the video of begging for some help. Whose idea was that?
Oh, look, man, I'm so happy that I'm bringing this out, because it's man, I have a dream of that video, and I have this very very big problem that I have many people around my team that are incredibly good with video making. And we're working with this director from Limerick called Shane Serrano of Crude Media that poor him, in the last couple of years, let's say more than a couple of years, like even 5 years, he was getting all the requests, about of my crazy stuff. And I don't know why he keeps saying yes to me. And he's always able to bring to life my ideas. So he put me in contact with a choreographer. I literally had a dream. I had the dream of dancing with my demons. And I say, look, I have to do a video like that. I have this idea. I have to express that to him. When we were chatting, of course, he was laughing a lot, thinking about myself dancing. But at the same time, he recommended me to an incredible choreographer from Ukraine, and that he was here in Ireland. And Ola, she was so, smart and good to build up a choreography on a rock song. Yeah, man, we had the best time. Practice rehearsing with them. It was like, I felt so embarrassed, but it was like, for me, it was a challenge. After I lived what I lived in the last years, I was like, what it is learning to dance. Let's do it. It doesn't matter. I wanted to bring something different into the equation of the dancing, because I think that into the equation of the videos, too. And also, all the video is not a representation of my personal internal conflict, and it's very connected to the meaning of the song. I love that. As you might saw from on our YouTube page, we do love to film videos, and it's still, even if we are in a time where the longest content you can see is literally 15 seconds, I still believe that is a form of art that gives value to the music. And despite MTV is not there anymore, it doesn't mean that the type of art was bad. So I think that is, in my opinion, it's good to have videos, in my opinion, that represent something.
I have to ask, was it Gavin's excellent dancing in the Name of Ezra video that inspired you to do dancing?
Of course. Gavin inspires me every day. Gavin is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's no, for sure. Gav. When we did in the Name of Ezra, it was so funny because, of course, in the song, technically, there's only Taran playing the part with us, But Gav went out with this idea of dancing. Like, let's do it. It was so hilarious.
You actually seem to embrace social media, which a lot of bands and myself find really hard. Is it something that comes naturally, or do you have to force yourself to do it?
I have to force 100% myself to do it.
You seem quite happy though. It's it doesn't show. It doesn't come across that way.
The thing is that I love specific type of content online with social media. I do believe that the power of social media as the only outlet for music is it's absolutely wrong in a way, because there are plenty of bands that are doing incredibly well on social media, but maybe they don't sell tickets. I think that thank God it's not the only way to communicate with people, but let's say that working well on that sector, on that channel, it's very important to be consistent, in posting and to tell the story, to create like the connection with your audience. The problem is that, sometimes social media can be very, they can put yourself really down. And it's something that I really want to express to all the artists, that if someone is listening to this interview, and literally just to say that don't get evaluated by the numbers of the social media, because sometimes there's a big risk. And I went through this trap so many times, thinking that because of the fact of social media, I'm not doing exactly the number that I was supposed to do. It means that literally it's, you're not valuable. It's crap. It's the fact that I went into the kind of, point of view that, social media are important because you're reaching different type of people depending on the channel you have. So if you're living that in that way, everything makes sense. The problem is that you need to be kind of, there's a lot of copy and paste in the social media, you're missing a lot of kind of, genuine way of talking to people. Like, I miss talking to people. I can't wait to go on tour to meet the people. I'm so sick of staying behind a computer and really don't have the chance to talk to someone.
You also show your cooking side on Instagram a fair bit, and also some recipes on the band's website. Is that your Italian side kicking in?
Man, I mean, for sure, yes. But there's also is the side of, I'm called the Last Vinci as a band because I'm the eighth of my family. And literally the reason why I started cooking, because my mom, she was struggling so much for the amount of people we were for cooking. And I started because I wanted to help her to don't literally, drown into the dishes and kind of, not being able to survive that life. And then it became my passion. The element of food was really an element that even was so connected with the music, because the people that are coming over in my studio are getting fed by me as well. I'm cooking for them. That element of cooking and recipes, a lot of bands were coming over here. And after staying with me, they were asking for recipes, like the one that I was cooking, that I was sending them the recipes. They were telling me, oh, no, it didn't come over as you were doing it. So I say, I should start to make videos. And then, you know who he was? Rory Fries from And So Watch You From Afar, that is a good buddy of mine, literally told me, you should make a video and make it like, put it online, like, and I said, yeah, that's actually a very nice idea. I'm been so busy with the album release that I'm dying to release a new recipe. I have so many requests of people. When I started to post the one that I did, they were cooking and sending me the picture of the recipe. It was really cool. And there's going to be another recipe coming soon that I did when I was with Blank Atlas on tour last November. But yeah, it's definitely something that is part of my soul, is part of the Narodor experience, and it's part about the fact that, for me, cooking is loving someone else, And in fact, for our album launch that we just announced it a few days ago, we're going to do the album launch. We're going to perform the full album with all the guests involved. And after the show, I'm cooking for all the guests.
I saw that. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
People are going to go away from that place with the belly full and a vinyl or a CD. So it's part of the tickets.
Okay, so let's briefly talk about live shows. You've got the 5 dates in Ireland and Northern Ireland, with the last being in your hometown Cork, which you just mentioned, and that's on May the 10th. And then there's a 12-date UK tour, which is your biggest yet. Were you really feeling this is the time to undertake a new challenge?
Oh, no, actually, because we are opening for Knives. That is another incredible band from Bristol. And they come over here to play in Ireland. And the tour was supposed to be in March. And they postponed it to May. It was like, okay, let's do it. In a way, it's even better. But they're going to be 16 gigs in 30 days, man. I really don't know how I'm going to handle it. So it's going to be good fun. Again, more than ever, 50 minutes at a time attitude is going to help me to survive. I'm pretty sure. And we really can't wait to go on tour, to meet the people, to bring the album to the people, and and to tour with Terminals, that are great guys, they're unbelievable in the UK. And hoping that really the fuel will last up to May, and we won't get without petrol to go there. But yes, we are absolutely buzzing for that.
So that tour's through May now. Have you got any festival dates or anything coming up this summer?
Yes, but I cannot still say which one they are.
But people can know to look out for them.
At the moment, something is coming, yes. There will be mainly festival in Ireland, but yes, something is coming.
Okay, you've got this tour in May, you've got some festival dates. What's next? You say you've got some songs left over. Are you gonna do a bi-curious thing of releasing a few tracks on an EP, or what's the sort of? Have you got the thoughts of what's coming next, or are you kind of let's get this done first?
You want to know too many things, man. It's kind of like
That's why I'm here.
look, I would say this, people will know if they're gonna listen to the full podcast Happy Days, it means that they're gonna discover the future of the Last Vinci. But I'm not there's no too much secret. But yes, let's say that there are gonna be other songs that are gonna come out and they're gonna be something very cool we're gonna do, in terms of filming, and yeah, they're gonna be still stuff coming on. But just take in consideration that 50 minutes at a time is the first of two albums that were written during this period. So people won't read of us very easily for a long time.
So the final question, what music are you listening to at the moment that people listening to the podcast may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
I'm going to say something that is pretty unconventional for maybe for the people of this podcast. But you should all listen. Make a favor to yourself to listen to Ray's new album. The album she written is something that really went directly to my heart. She wrote a couple of songs that really changed. I mean, it seems they were written for me in that specific moment. It was incredibly special. It's an orchestral trip, and with Hans Zimmer inside. It's something. Make yourself the favor to dig in, thinking about other things that I'm actually listening. And of course, my brothers Clear Drip literally are, unbelievable. And they just released a new single. That bands are, for me, Clear Drip for sure are, in my opinion, one of the most influential band artistically in Europe at the moment. And they deserve so more attention. They are so great.
For people wishing to find out more about The Last Vinci, check the band's website, thelastvinci.com, and check out their socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Bandcamp, pretty much everything covered. 15 Minutes at a Time is out now via Narrow Door Records, both physically on vinyl and CD from the band's website and Bandcamp, and on all streaming platforms. Alex, thanks for joining me, and I hope everybody hears this album, as I have a feeling it is going to be my favourite album of the year when we get to the end.
Oh, man. Thank you, Dan. You're the best. Thank you so much for having me.